that, but let's just call this some kind of discussion session. But watch this video anyway. I'm going to take you through what design thinking is really about. Now, design thinking is really an approach used for practical and creative problem solving that focuses on methods and processes. Now, basically, it's all about experimenting, ideating, think outside the box kind of thing, exploration. It's also very, very human-centered. And what we're going to focus on for this semester is something very human-centered, looking at situations, looking at real circumstances, and then we're just going to go really trying to solve problems. So we're all going to be like problem-solving detectives. And where the creativity comes in is the process. Now, in design thinking, there are basically, 5 stages, right? There are 5 stages to it, and these are the 5 stages. Basically, you have the first stage, empathize. Now, you got to remember this. Now, if you have a little notebook right now, you can just like rough notebook, just jot these things down, because that'll be useful for your e-portfolio or your kind of like electronic idea journal, call it that way. Now, so these 5 stages, one is called empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Now, design thinking is very interesting because it's made really famous from Stanford University long time ago. Now it's worldwide phenomenon, and they have gone into every discipline, and every discipline can apply design thinking in how to develop ideas and bringing ideas to life and improvising the quality of life for all humankind. So that's basically the most interesting thing about design thinking. So these 5 phases is very very important for you to remember. One is the discovery stage, then you got the interpretation stage, ideation, then you got the experimentation, the presentation. So these are kind of like the categories for the 5 stages. Now, you don't have to worry about those categories, but basically what you need to remember as we go along, you're going to get started in the discovery stage, where you're going to keep investigate to find the problem. Now, the first stage, now before I get into the first stage, we're going to watch a little video, okay, now at the back of me, and just watch it with me.
Good afternoon. My name is Suresh Jayakar, and I am a user experience designer. I work at a local agency called Cluj. Today, I am excited to talk to you about design and design thinking. Design thinking is a process, a way to solve problems. We're naturally taught to take the best choice and to execute that, to think convergently. What design thinking does is encourage us to think divergently, to think outside the box, and to come up with creative ways that might not even exist. We often look at problems through a microscope. What design thinking does is to look at it through a telescope, to look at the big picture, to see how things work from a holistic perspective. And we do that by talking to our users, by empathizing with them, understanding their problems, and defining those problems, and then creating solutions that we can then test and validate.
So I'm going to stop there. Now, basically what he was saying is, like I said, human-centered. The whole idea of this creative development of creative problem solving is to try to understand human beings. So we're going to focus on human-centered design, human-centered problem solving, and it's really, really fun. Now, moving on.
My family and I.
So the first phase, first part of the discovery phase is called empathize, because just now Suresh mentioned about to focus on human-centered is to understand human needs, is to first empathizing with the users. So we call humans users. Our subject matter that we are solving for are called users. So basically you're trying to solve users' problem. So who are the users? Us, humans, people around you. You can find them anywhere. So what is empathize? Empathize is really about you putting yourself in the shoes of the user to understand what the user feels. Yeah? So do you understand how I feel? Do you think I need something? Can you ask me what I need? Mr. Charles, do you need anything? Do you have a problem? Maybe I could help you solve it as a designer, or maybe as an engineer, or maybe I'm just going to just solve the problem for you using a design thinking approach. So that's basically what it is. So empathize is to understand the user, get to know who the user is, understand what the user needs. That's very important. The user's needs, wants, objectives, and to really also connect with them in every level, even emotionally. If the user is crying, is like, you take a handkerchief and like, okay, I understand, it's a very, very tough situation. Yeah. Now look, the problems that people want to solve can be anything. We're not talking about when you hear the word design, it doesn't mean drawing or art. Design is really about putting things together. Yeah, trying to find solutions. Design is all about solutions. It's all about answers. It's all about possible approaches, possible directions that you can take. Yeah, there's no perfect answer about everything, but at least in design thinking, there is a process of seeking out what that answer might be. But you can't know what that answer could be without really understanding who the users are. So you really need to gather enough information about the user. So why do you need to do this? Because it's not your own problem to solve. It's somebody else's problem. You really doing that. It belongs to this group of people. And to design for them, you need to understand what is important. Yeah, these are some of the very important things. Now you look at this diagram, where do you position yourself, in this world between what you're going to do. Now look, don't worry. You're an engineer or you're a writer, or doesn't matter what your discipline is. Okay, you're a businessman, you're an educationist. Doesn't matter who you are. What you could do is understand where you're positioned. And if you look at this diagram, that's where you are. You are the one that's conducting this incredible service for humans. So interact with the environment. You can understand that, get some insights, get some details, understand the stories. Humans got lots of stories, and lots of the stories and narratives can be very insightful. They really open your mind and open your eyes and understanding. So how do you do that? How do you empathize? Simple. In a nutshell, put yourselves in their shoes. Try to understand that. There are lots of things you can do here. You can assume a blank mindset, view the users behind their behavior, blah, 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 conduct interviews. The most important thing is to conduct interviews. Engage in a conversation, engage in a dialogue, talk to them, hello, how are you? How's your puppy today? How's your family today? And so what do you think of that situation that you notice in your office? Is something to do with that wall, or you just talk to them. Talk to them. If there's something they want to, just talk to them, connect with them on a human level. We call them humans for a reason, because they're humans. They're Homo sapiens. They're people, individuals with feelings. They're spirited individuals. They have emotions. They're not like robot. I have a problem. Design me a solution. They don't talk to you that way. You say hi. You play a game together. Go play tennis together or something. Connect with them. Engage. Dialogue. Combine observation. You could even they could even demonstrate stuff to you. They could. A lot of things. There's so many things. So you're gonna have to figure that out. This is just an example. Yeah. So observe, engage, watch, listen. You can observe, observe how a group of people respond to that particular situation, and take some notes. So talking and dialogue isn't just enough. Sometimes observing outcomes, the results of, for example, that bridge has been causing problems for people. How do you know that? So your user was telling me, I want a bridge that works, that gives people a lot of happiness. So so every day you observe. It takes time to do things like that. I mean, but you kind of observe people when they walk over the bridge. Some of them are tripping, and some of them are like complaining, and that's what I mean by observe, watching, and listen. So yeah, and yeah, ask why all the time. Ask why. Why is it? Why do you feel this way? Why did you do this? Why? So sometimes you're going to have to prepare some questions, but try to have the questions a little bit more open-ended, when you discuss to users. So identify your users. When it comes to empathize stage, the first stage in every assignment and projects that you have here that you're going to do for this particular module, the first stage of every assignment, the first stage is empathize. Okay? Now, how it works is every assignment, you got to have the 5 stages done for every assignment. You got to apply the 5 stages of design thinking for each assignment and the project. That's how it works. Yeah. So okay, so I think there you go. So this is a different video. I'm not gonna get into this one just yet. Oops. Okay, so hope if you have questions, I'll see you during the lecture sessions, or every lecture sessions or tutorial sessions. Feel free to ask those questions. My next video will be about the second stage of the design thinking process. So that's basically it for now. Take care. Oh yeah, before I end, I always forget this one. I'm going to read you something right now. I'm going to read you. Every time I finish a stage of explaining the design thinking, basically explaining one stage, I'm just going to read you something short from a book called Mad Science. Yes. Right. Something that you maybe probably you need to know. Just get ready for this. Please read you. Okay. March 7th, 1897. First morning of the cornflake. Dr. John Kellogg, believing that a strict diet benefits the patients at his sanitarium in Battle Creek, Michigan, serves up the world's first cornflakes. Kellogg was a Seventh-day Adventist and a passionate adherent of the healthy living tenets of the church, which embraced a holistic approach to health in the days when there were no antibiotics and few effective drugs of any kind. The cornflakes he served at his Battle Creek Sanitarium, well, he coined the word sanitarium himself, were sugarless. His brother Will recognized and exploited cornflakes' commercial potential. He added sugar and sold the stuff as breakfast food, deeply offending the sensibilities of John, who sued to stop Will from marketing the cereal. John lost, and Will marketed as few had done before. His signature became the company logo, and he devoted millions to advertising. In 1911, in New York City's Times Square, he put up the world's largest electric sign, 80 feet by 160 feet, with the letter K standing more than 60 feet high. John Kellogg, meanwhile, used the royalties to subsidize his sanitarium. Sanitarium is like like a place for mentally ill, which he built as a place where people learn to stay well, kind of like a convalescence place. It attracted a mainly wealthy clientele who tended to check in for several weeks at a time. John Kellogg also introduced new techniques for abdominal surgery. Well, the sanitarium operated at its original site until 1942. The main building became a medical facility for veterans of World War II and the Korean War. That's it. Incredible, isn't it? Incredible how something, the word is called serendipity. So I leave you with this for this stage. Now remember what we talked about, empathize, and the reading, the mad science reading. Now it's the accidental discovery of the conflicts by Dr. John Kellogg. Incredible, isn't it? Sometimes it's not planned. Things can be discoverable. So imagine, be as serendipitous as you can. Observe, be sensitive, observe your surroundings, and remember who you are. You are awesome. Take care. Catch you later. Bye.